If somebody bombs that on you on a Tuesday, let me know, and if I can, I will come.
Welcome then. Somebody's on.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good to see everyone and welcome. And glad you could join me for this follow-up class. So this is kind of like class number 7 after our 6-week class. And as we've been talking a little bit, getting some feedback, it is good to hear how some of you have integrated this and how it's working for you. I know that's not always easy, and that's really a big part of what we're doing here is just establishing some sort of regular practice as to how you can fit it into your life. You know, whether it's a formal practice or an informal practice, and we'll have kind of a refresher of a lot of this stuff in today's class. I've got a couple of meditations lined up, and I've got some things to kind of like go over sort of as highlights from the 6 weeks that we spent together as reminders, as a way for you to think about keeping it going and how to go forward with this. All right, so let's move forward. So let's start the class with a mindful minute, and we'll take a pause, and we're just going to take a minute or two, and I'm not going to give too much instruction to this. This is going to be kind of a silent pause of about 2 minutes, and you can spend that time however you wish, kind of getting in touch with your breath or your body or your thoughts, just kind of checking in with the internal weather, so to speak. So just get comfortable, take a moment to pause and reflect and just sort of check in with yourself. Just simply noticing what's here for you right now and kind of gathering your attention into this moment. Perhaps slowing things down, intentionally taking this pause, letting things be still. All right, let's finish that brief pause, and you can open your eyes if you've had them closed. And again, just another way to stop the doing and try to be more human beings rather than human doings in these crazy times. We got some good feedback to start already. What's working, what gets in the way? A few of you have shared that. So if you haven't shared in, good. I'm glad you're also telling me that you're here. So that's good. If you want to either put something in the chat or unmute yourself. But we've got some good comments about how you are individually doing some of these practices. So anybody else have anything to add to this? Looks like some good regular practice is going on in terms of formal and informal practice, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well as reminding you to kind of do that. Helpful driving into and from work. Good. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too, and really integrating it into those regular activities that you normally do, whether it's driving or walking or eating. Those are excellent times to instead of just doing them mindlessly and doing them on autopilot, which is so easy, to really pay attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. It's as simple as that. The take 10 calls, again, that's a good, I do have a slide on that. Relaxing when things are getting out of hand, meditating once a day. So lots of good practice going on. So good to hear. But I'm sure it's also challenging at times. So are there any particular challenges in terms of what's getting in the way, difficulties in terms of keeping it going on a regular basis? I mean, I will share with you from my own practice, it ebbs and flows. And there are times when I hesitate to say better at it, but there are times when I'm more regular about it, more disciplined about it. I hesitate to use that word as well, but it does take discipline. It's like, going to the gym and doing those kinds of things that are so important for us that we tend to let go by the wayside, especially when we're stressed or when there's a lot going on in our lives. One of the things I did in January is on the 10% Happier app. They have had a meditation challenge that started at the beginning of the month and it finishes this week. And that's a great way to do that. There's another challenge coming up in February with Sharon Salzberg on her website. If you just go to that and sign up for it. Now, she does ask for a donation. You can do it for free. In the past, it's traditionally been free, but I think they're asking for donations now for as little as $10, but you don't have to. You can do it for free if you choose. But that is for the whole month of February, and each day she sends out a little lesson and a meditation, and it's very good. I've done this for several years in a row. There are also tips and questions and answers and a visual graphic that comes along with it. So you might consider trying something like that if you think that would be helpful to kind of keep it going. A couple more comments. Good. Music has added a lot to my practices. It lets my mind go where I want it to. Good. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, that we can add music, whether it is just music that you like to listen to or could have a meditative, reflective quality to it. There are lots of apps that have those kinds of musical background to some of the meditations. Here's a comment. I have an active toddler who does not give me a break, but I try to relax and meditate when she takes her nap. Yeah, so, taking those opportunities when you can, they're not easy, I know. So good for you to do that. You might, when she's old enough, begin to teach her to that. Chanting, good. Wow, somebody's doing some chanting. Yeah, I have not done that much of that myself, but that's a great practice to get into as well. So glad to hear you're getting creative with this and you're doing some things, as you can see, really helps to sustain your practice. So very good. So one more. Oh, I meant that's what I listened to. You listen to chanting. Okay. Well, you can listen to it or do it. Yeah, either way, that's fine. But yeah, so there are a number of meditations that there may be an audio track to it. So whether it's chanting or music, good way to kind of, if that's what works for you. And that's really what it comes down to. If that helps you sustain your own practice and helps you kind of get into it, and perhaps even look forward to it, that's, you want it to become second nature. And so that's whatever works for you. So part of the lesson here is just deciding what you want to do in a formal way, incorporate it into your schedule, whether it's one of the practices we've done or whether it's some of the things that you've mentioned that you've discovered in lots of other things. And I know that it can be challenging with work and family responsibilities, But even just the simple act of pausing, and so I want to kind of just bring this quote up again. I know you've seen this before, but just to remind you that to make this purposeful pause in your day, and hopefully a number of times in your day, can really make a difference. And it's a very powerful activity. It may not be a formal sitting meditation of 5 to 10 minutes or so, might just be 30 seconds, but these kinds of things that you see listed here can really make a difference. And I think they become a regular part of a practice that that teaches us and breaks up the mental activity, breaks up the stress cycles that come up, so that we remind ourselves to give our minds a break. So lots of these things we've had and talked about in the classes. And so if you go back, you'll see, like the stop, for example, there's a whole page on that. 3 breaths for a pause, there's a page on that. And we've talked about doing these kinds of things as an informal practice, the everyday routine activities that we all do. And in fact, just simply viewing them as self-care activities that you can bring mindfulness to. If we treated a mindful awareness practice the same way we do with brushing our teeth, or taking care of all the various chores of doing the dishes and getting ourselves ready in the morning, or whatever time of the day you do those kinds of self-care activities, treat your mindfulness and your meditation in the same way and integrate them with the same kind of priority. And that can really get you so that it becomes a regular part of your day. So that can include eating. And so please remember that anytime you sit down, and of course we do this several times a day, if not more, to slow down, to look at some of these, clues here. And reminders: slow down, sit at a real table, don't hurry, drink more water, feel the taste of food, respect your body and your health, try not to multitask, try to just eat when you're eating. And as I'll send these out, there's a couple of links here. This is a mindful eating exercise. It's only like 2 minutes with chocolate. And then there's one that takes you to the traditional mindful raisin eating exercise, so you can get a small handful of raisins when you try this particular exercise. It's really a very good mindful eating practice. So just a reminder about the attitudes that help. And sometimes this is where we can get off track, that if we're not being patient, kind, or accepting, or if we are judging ourselves, to remember that these are important ways that we can treat ourselves better when it comes to our mindfulness practice and our meditations. We're not trying to be the best breather in the world. We're trying to bring this practice so that it's helpful to ourselves, and that we can learn to be patient. Not so much it helps with the outside world, but more to be patient with ourselves, and to be kind to ourselves and accepting. And I think I've said this before, but Tara Brach, who's a great meditation instructor that I follow quite a bit, talks about the attitude of friendliness is a key predictor of setting the stage for a good mindfulness practice. So that if you find yourself giving yourself a hard time because you don't feel that you're doing it right, try to let that go. First, be aware of that when you notice that kind of, sometimes we say to ourselves, I'm not doing this good enough, or I'm not doing it enough. And if you're kind of beating yourself up over that, that's obviously not helpful. So try to bring that attitude of kindliness and friendliness to yourself, and to say, okay, well, Maybe this past week I haven't done it as much as I would have liked, but this week or today, starting fresh, this is a brand new beginning for me. And so that's kind of one way to do that. And just to remind you about the 9 attitudes that are helpful that John Kabat-Zinn talks about, that's the link if you wanted to revisit any of those. I think I showed you this in the last class, but I really like this quote from Sharon Salzberg. And again, she's the one that does the February challenge. That's how you spell her name if you want to, just SharonSalzberg.com. But so oftentimes we think we don't have the right kind of mindfulness or the right level of concentration, or that we think we have to be achieving a particular state when we do this. And it's really more about being aware of it during the day. This second part of the quote is so important. Countless times a day, we lose mindfulness. In other words, we lose touch with being in the present moment. And we become lost in reaction or disconnected from what is happening. But the moment we recognize that we've lost mindfulness, we have already gained it. That recognition is its essence, and we can begin again. So, the formal practice is important, and the frequency, the regularity with which you do any practice is important. But even just simply that awareness of noticing when you get lost in thought, or you're on autopilot, even if you're carried away quite a bit, noticing that, recognizing that is like a magic moment of being able to return and reconnect with this moment. Okay, so that's important. So what I'd like to do is a brief meditation around smiling, and it kind of brings in the attitude of friendliness that I've been talking about, setting the stage for kindfulness, if you will. And being aware of what sometimes our typical attitude may be, if it's critical or harsh or focusing on what's wrong rather than on what's right, that we want to remind ourselves that we can bring more of a friendly, caring attitude to the practice. Okay, so let's do a brief practice. This will be maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And so bringing yourself into a position that's comfortable and at ease. You want to be relatively upright. It helps to have your feet flat on the floor, I think. You want your spine straight, but not uncomfortable. Pay attention to how you're balanced, your shoulders and how your head feels, just being in this sort of a somewhat dignified posture, but one that you can be relaxed as well. And you can close your eyes. You can also keep them softly open with an unfocused gaze in front of you. That's fine, but you want to be able to tune inward. And let's take a few nice deep breaths, filling the chest and lungs. Lengthening the inhale, slowly and evenly exhaling, releasing, relaxing, and letting go. Bring relaxed attention to your eyes, allowing them to soften. Allow the jaw to be unhinged. Bring awareness to your neck and shoulders and allow them to drop and relax. You can imagine ice melting to water and water dissolving to gas. You can let your hands rest in an easy, effortless way, softening and relaxing from the inside out. And just noticing any sensations, tingling or pulsing, warmth or cold. pressure or tightness, just being aware of what's here in the body in terms of sensations. Let your chest be open, feeling sensations in the heart area as you breathe. Allow your belly to be loose and relaxed. Receive the next breath into a softening belly. Relax the entire pelvic region, releasing any holding or tension, letting your attention flow down into your legs and all the way down to your feet. And being open to feeling your body all at once as a field of sensations. Sensing your open, calm, gentle presence. And amidst this field of sensations, noticing the breath as it moves in and out of your body. Just being aware of your breath for the next couple of cycles of breathing. And if you notice that your attention has wandered, without judgment or criticism, bring your focus gently back to your breath. Key word is gently. Just bring it back in a nice, easy, gentle manner to your breath. Now allow a smile to settle on your face. If it helps to think of something or someone that naturally makes you smile or laugh, a child perhaps playing, or a baby, or a puppy, or a kitten playing, whatever works for you. An experience that you recently had, a pleasant experience perhaps. Feel your smile spread on your face up to your eyes. Feeling your eyes and skin soften and sensing the outer corners of the eyes uplifted by your smile. Let your brow be smooth. Sense the smile spread from your mouth down through your cheeks, down to the jaw and the lower face. Visualize and feel the spread of the smile to your chest and heart area. Create a tender space for whatever you find there as the smile grows into this area. Spending a few moments resting your awareness here in the chest and heart area. Again, if you notice your attention has wandered, without any judgment or criticism, bring your focus gently back to the warmth and ease of your smile. Now return to your eyes, softening and relaxing, feeling the smile at your mouth, opening the smile in your heart and chest, letting the smile spread to your whole body, inside and out, creating a relaxed, open atmosphere. And imagine this smiling presence spreading outward so the whole space around you is filled with the warmth of a smile. And rest in this receptive openness. And as you move through the rest of your day, explore bringing this sense of a smile to yourself in your interactions with others, and just notice the effect that it has on you and them. And now bringing your awareness back to your body, sitting here, slowly opening the eyes as we finish this smile meditation. Okay, well, feel free to put in the chat what that was like, what your experience was like. As you can see, that really kind of brings that sense of a smile, which, by the way, when we do that, even if we don't feel like smiling genuinely, when we bring a smile to our lips and our face, it still kind of tricks the brain and sends a signal to the rest of the body, to the mind, to be relaxed. And so just kind of remind you about this message about happiness. Happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time. It's not about achieving, that next goal in life. It's not about getting whatever it is. It's obviously more of an internal job. It's about loving what you have and being grateful for it. So want to remind you, if you haven't watched this link below, the happiness link by Tara Brach, it's a really nice, I think it's about a 20-minute video. But even if you just watch that 2.5-minute mark to the 6.5-minute mark, it's a nice little talk on discovering happiness, not only in the things that feel good to us, when we have a good meal, or when we listen to some good music, or have a really good conversation with somebody, or a good connection. It's about developing this capacity to be happy, as the quote says, and being grateful for what we have. And which kind of leads us to this, what she calls is being happy for no reason. So in other words, it doesn't have to be tied to something. It's just about developing this quality of being content and accepting. Okay, so might want to watch that. It's a good one. Another quote from Jack Kornfield, he teams up with Tara Brach quite a bit. Also, I think a well-respected, and again, also one of my favorite meditation instructors. Recently was on the 10% Happier podcast. Really good podcast about, talking about how things are these days. So you might want to go back and listen to that. If you can pick that up on any podcast. You just search for 10% Happier and Jack Kornfield. It's one of the more recent podcasts in January. So he says, we need to remember that where we are going is here. That any practice is simply a means to open our heart to what is in front of us. Where we already are is the path and the goal. So I like this quote because, I emphasize the importance of practices and the discipline and having to do these things which help us to be more in touch with the here and now. But just to remember that you can do this just through anything. And so just kind of reminding you about the walking meditation, for example, remembering to be mindful when we walk, even if we're not walking as much as we used to, or it's cold out. You can do this inside, just remembering to be present with your footsteps. Remember to bring it to mindful movement, whether it's stretching or yoga, gentle yoga, or exercise, or climbing stairs, or just some gentle movement in a mindful way is another great way to integrate it into our life. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, and I bring up these quotes to remind you about, remember we've talked about mindfulness of our thinking. And, the basic practice when we do a breathing meditation is when we notice we're carried away in thought is to come back to our breath and to let the thought go. But remember that the thought meditation and the emotions meditation can be very helpful in tuning into those patterns. So this first quote, "We're not troubled by things, but by the opinions we have about things," that we can easily get carried away by the stories in our minds and the conditioned thought patterns that we all have, that we've been conditioned over life, and that we can learn to be aware of that and to stop getting lost in thought and carried away by those thought patterns. In other words, that automatic pilot. And that the second quote, that we can learn to pause, that's that, purposeful pause, and to step back so that we realize that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and we can learn to choose to respond rather than react. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So the thoughts and emotions are very important because they can become like this, so overwhelming and very heavy, very much kind of a weight on our shoulders. So remember, you might want to try the thought meditation or the emotion meditation, where we become mindfully aware. I'll remind you of the rain meditation, for example. That's a great one for tuning into the emotions that arise. The rain, remember, is recognizing what's here, labeling. You can label the emotion, accepting and allowing it to be here rather than pushing it away. To investigate it with kindness, again, not to give ourselves a hard time about this, but to investigate it with kindness, and so that we become, to the end part of the rain, to not identifying with it and to nurture ourselves. That's, really kind of the beauty of it. So there's good meditations on both thoughts and emotions on the website. Hopefully you've tried, so keeping those in mind as well. And that can really help to kind of take the weight off of our mind, to create this more open spaciousness. In fact, that's going to be the next meditation that I do with you, is being aware that there's this kind of space and this awareness that we have that's really who we are. We often think that the roles in our life, what we do, and who we are at work, and who we are in our family, and who we are with our friends and coworkers and family members, the things that we have to kind of take care of, that's kind of what we are. Well, in this next meditation, from Jack Kornfield, in fact, is called the space of awareness. And that's getting more in touch with the awareness that's behind all those activities. It's really the essence of being, if you want to think of it that way. That's really who we are and where our essence, in a sense, lives. Without getting too deep about it, but there's a nice little meditation that I have. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you that there are these resources to support your practice. This particular website here is where you go for the whole list of meditations. It's been restructured so that you'll see meditations for the class, but you'll also see some stress-related meditations and COVID-related meditations and some guided imagery. So maybe you want to try some new stuff if you haven't done some of those, and see what works for you. Continue with the apps. I know some of you use apps. These are just a couple. Insight Timer, 10% Happier, but some people use an app called Calm. There's an app called Relax Melodies that, if you like the sounds, you can pick from a whole variety of sounds. That's a good one. And then the podcasts. Those are great ways to reinforce what you're learning. These two, 10% Happier and Tara Brach's, or there's another one called Sounds True. I think it's called Insights on the Edge. And so just, if you kind of get into, if you like podcasts, they're a great way to support your practice. Now on YouTube, I have created a bunch of playlists. So there's a mindfulness challenge playlist. If you want to do the challenge that I did back in August, it's all there. If you wanted to do that, there's COVID-related meditations on that YouTube channel. There's a mindfulness at work course, which is a lot, very, very similar to the course that you've taken. So there's a lot of content there, and some of these classes are on there as well. I haven't been able to put them all up there because they didn't all record the way that I wanted, but they're all there. And then there's the phone meditations. Remember these if you want to call in to a live meditation Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2, or you can call the recorded line, which is the one in the blue box here, the 203-688-6185 number. We did this one the last class, but I put it in here just to remind you. I think this is a nice one that called Choiceless Awareness, where you really begin to just open up your awareness. And it's similar to the one that I'm going to do called the Space of Awareness, where you just get to a place where you just become aware of whatever arises in a moment, whether it's a sound or a thought or an emotion or a sensation, and really just being curious about that and tuning into it as it happens. So that's a link, that's an active link if you want to try that meditation. But for today and for the last meditation of the class, I want to give you this one called the Space of Awareness. And this is based on the work of Jack Kornfield. All right, so closing the eyes, settling the body, and simply begin to notice what's here. Kind of like we did in the very beginning pause. Just noticing what's here, whatever arises for you in your awareness. And I can direct your attention like a flashlight in a sense. Notice what your face feels like. Be aware of any tension you may carry around the eyes or the mouth, and let your eyes and face soften. Let the jaw relax. Let the shoulders drop and relax. Notice the arms and the hands and just the sensations that are present there. Notice the chest and the belly and the back, the whole torso. The legs and the feet, and just simply be aware of any sensations in any part of the body that are present. Now notice how the body breathes itself. And you don't have to do anything. The breath comes in and out, just like the wind moving through the trees outside. Just feel it, the breathing itself. Now notice any feelings or emotions that are present. Maybe you feel peaceful, or perhaps rushed. Maybe there are things that you are reminded you have to do or fix, or maybe you feel a little anxious or sad or excited or happy. Whatever it is, These are just examples. Just notice what's here in terms of your feelings. Noticing them with a kind attention. Along with feelings, we can notice a stream of thoughts, evaluations, liking this, not liking this, judgments, words or images. Now here's the trick. The body, the breath, the feelings, the thoughts, they come and go like waves in the ocean. Who you are is the space of awareness, like the sky, that feels the body breathing, that notices emotions arising and passing, that notices the pictures, the words, and the thoughts, like clouds coming into the space of awareness. Relax into openness as if your mind is the sky and all your experiences are arising and passing like clouds in the vast space of your open mind. And rest in this open living awareness. Trust it. Relax into it. So just reviewing what we just did, we practiced the art of mindful attention by relaxing the face and noticing the body, being aware of emotions and thoughts. The next thing we did was we turned our attention from the content, the experiences themselves, back to recognize that who you are is the space of awareness itself. Very simply, a witnessing consciousness that is available at any moment, at any time. So let's just releasing the meditation, letting go of all of that, reconnecting with the world around us, perhaps feeling free to move a little bit, stretch, open the eyes as we finish that meditation. And just reminding you about some suggestions for daily practice. This was part of our handout from John Kabat-Zinn that I sent the last class. Just kind of remembering some of these key concepts. And I'll jump down to that last one because that's really kind of what I'm talking about. Remember, the real meditation is your life and how you inhabit it moment by moment. Kind of in this, kind of encapsulating how we can try to recognize when we're caught up in all those thoughts and worries and emotions that life brings us, but letting them go and trying to be more like the dog. So just remind you, these practice meditations are all here. You can find them also on those places that I mentioned on YouTube, but these links here take you all to our EFR website, which you'll find lots of other good resources on there as well. So before I close, I just want to say thanks again for joining. I know that 45 minutes goes kind of quickly and I cover a lot of ground. But just want to open it up. Any last comments or questions or things that perhaps I didn't cover or you would like me to cover? Feel free to put that into the chat feature. I will remind you, we do have these refresher webinars once a month on the second Friday. You'll be getting a monthly email from me as well. So remember to kind of keep those on your calendar or as a way to kind of refresh and keep going with some of this stuff. And if there's anything else that I can do to support your practice, just let me know. So with that, I'll say thank you very much again for joining me today. And I wish you well in your ongoing mindfulness practice. I hope you have found it helpful. And at this point, I'll wish you all the best as we go through the rest of our day today. And remember to bring mindfulness, to bring this awareness with you as best you can. Thank you very much.